Toy Story's back, and this franchise is still finding new things to say about your kid's childhood. This time around, the focus is on AI. Lilypad just doesn't sit there. She responds, she adapts, and Bonnie seems to like her more than her regular toys. If that sounds familiar, you are not alone. How do these movies about toys coming to life keep telling us exactly what's happening to our own kids? I'm Betsy Bozdech, and this is Conversations with Common Sense Media. We actually consulted on this film, and Robbie Torney is the one they called. He studies AI's impact on our kids, and Yvette Renteria runs the teams that are tracking tech's effects on kids in schools right now, because parents are not the only ones with questions. Teachers are asking too. Welcome, both of everybody. It's nice to see you in this capacity.
Absolutely.
Same. Great to be here.
Thank you. So, Robbie, many families and media reviewers have talked about how Toy Story 5, which has sort of always had a real line on where kids are and families are these days, have introduced Lilypad, this tablet that immediately grabs the main kid, Bonnie's, attention. And it shows her being really drawn to Lilypad's design and features. And then we see in all of the houses up and down the street that other people, other kids, and of all ages and parents are using all of their devices too. This is really art imitating life, isn't it?
Yeah, 40% of kids have a tablet by age 2. And nearly 1 in 4 have a cell phone by age 8. Kids ages 5 through 8 are spending 3.5 hours a day on average on screens, and teens and tweens are spending 5+ hours a day on screens. So, when I'm thinking about that scene in particular, and also the sleepover scene where the girls are all together in the same space, but they're not really interacting with each other, I was thinking about how tech can co-locate people, but not necessarily connect them. Our research shows that screens aren't harmful per se. It's more about the things that they displace, those face-to-face play opportunities, the imaginative play opportunities, the boredom that comes with not necessarily having something to entertain you. And all of that is linked to emotional regulation, social skill development, and other things that are really critical for cognitive development for kids and teens.
You sound like you know what you're talking about. Maybe you should have been an advisor on this film.
Wait,
you were.
I was.
So I, reviewed millions of movies. Well, not millions. I've loved many movies in my time here, 20 years, but I've never done that. What was that like?
Yeah, it was a really absolutely cool experience to get to give advice on this film. I was contacted in the fall by Pixar's team, and they really wanted to make sure that they were portraying issues around kids, technology, and toys with nuance and with care and with a sense of responsibility to get to land that and get that story right. We have, the research at Common Sense Media, but more recently, the risk assessments that our team has been doing. So places that I weighed in on as I watched an early cut of the film were just thinking about the ways in which Lilypad and some of the other toys have AI-like features. So for example, Lilypad, she talks, she adapts, she promises to support Bonnie's development. She takes actions on her behalf. All of that sounds a little bit like agentic AI, and the companion and it sounds a little bit like an AI companion. So the line between a smart toy and an AI companion is blurry, and how she's portrayed really matters.
And interestingly, we talk about the all-tech, the Jessie versus Lilypad. It reminded me a bit of the dynamic between joy and anxiety in Inside Out 2. How anxiety was really trying to help Riley, but overcompensated. And it was the same kind of thing with Lilypad. Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting echo. Okay, Yvette, I want to talk to you, and I want to make sure I get this right. So in addition to tech's potential impact on kids' well-being, I know that there's growing concern around AI becoming so much a part of screen use as kids are using it by default and kind of maybe offboarding some of their problem-solving skills to really get easy, instant answers and not really fully developing their cognitive thinking skills. So what are you seeing in that field, and what can you share about the impact and stuff on human capabilities?
I think one of the things that's really interesting to me is the idea of wanting to develop a whole child has never changed. The importance of critical thinking, the importance of creativity, having agency, human connection. And I feel like we're in a moment of time right now where those are still valuable, but we're really questioning what that looks like in this new age. And it becomes complex because we've always done work, and I say we in terms of like this education space is very aware of age and stage and developmental levels, right? We are in education, we're in the business of ensuring that our humans are thriving and they're learning and they're growing. And in this moment of time, as tech becomes more innovative and as AI becomes much more higher level and has the capacity to do these great and wonderful things and also harmful things, we have to be really clear on what we're putting in front of our young people. And so I think what's really important at this moment of time is to continue to stay grounded in like, what do we want our children to grow up to be? These critical thinkers, these curious thinkers, have human connections, own their space. And now we're really questioning that as we bring AI into this. And so we've had a lot of experience working with schools and districts right now around like, tell us what to do. Like, give us some practical ways to do this, because I think we're all parents, educators, students, kids alike are kind of navigating this without really knowing. And so I think one of the things we need to make sure that we're staying grounded on is like, what do we want to support? How do we want to support our young people in this world? And in doing that, like that hasn't really changed over this years and even decades around like these basic habits. Now, what has changed is those tools that they were introduced, and we need to be really conscious about the ways we introduce them at that certain age. So Robbie brought up the data point of like when kids are starting to get tablets and when they're starting to get cell phones. We need to be really conscious of what it means to give this tool to a young person who is still curious, who wants to break it, who wants to test it, and understand what those implications are, and just ensure that we're protecting them from the harms. And allowing them to explore and allow them to be curious. So really having that balance is really important. And I don't think it's an all or nothing approach. I actually loved the scene when Lilypad was going into the donation truck and Jessie comes in, and you kind of see this moment of them trying to figure how to calibrate and knowing it's not just the old toys or the new toys, is actually working together to figure out. And I think that was a really beautiful way of thinking about ways to support students, is like we actually have to have both in their lives to be able to figure out what's the best as they grow and develop.
Cool. And speaking about the what and the when, there are some great scenes with some of Bonnie's friend Blaze's older forgotten tech toys, like, Conan O'Brien's like toilet trainer, who is hilarious, and the starter camera and the GPS tool. And so it kind of raises some questions around like when tech should be introduced and what types of things. And, I know that families, doctors, educators really aren't all in sync about this all or nothing approach. So how are parents supposed to know what's right for them?
Right. And I will say this as a parent of 10-year-old twins, like that camera, I was like, oh, I ended up getting my kids that camera and it seemed like harmless. And as I was watching that movie, I'm like, was that the right move? So to all the parents and the educators, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to learn as we go. I think we still have to be very intentional about knowing our kids, having those conversations. Again, to Robbie's point, like that dialogue and that importance. Like when I think about what Bonnie needed when she needed those friends, the parents were finding that solution with getting this Lilypad, not recognizing what the future is. And I think oftentimes during these like tech innovations and these new cool toys, we put it in front of them, whether it's an educator or a parent, and sometimes we don't know what that long-term impact is. And we need to adjust. And I think right now is like we're learning and we're going to need to adjust as we go. So there might be moments where we're like, this is a great time to utilize AI resources. And we might next month later find out, oh, that didn't really work well. We need to like figure out an alternative to this.
Yeah, like we've been saying, it's not all this way or all that way. It's, yes and the improv rule. And I that spoke to me about the movie, is it's like, it starts out as this, it's the villain, but it's not. It's, So anyway.
Yeah. And Betsy, I think to that message of balance, it can be hard to, I think parents and educators want clear advice. And then sometimes that sort of like, tell me what to do, tell me what I should do, give me that clear guidance. And I think, it's legit to want that clarity. It's legit to want the suggestions, the expert informed advice. And we're trying to make sure that we're meeting that need. But, in this movie, it's also the case that Blaze and Bonnie connect because of technology. They are able to form connections as a result of that. And we also know from our research that tech can be really connecting, particularly for isolated kids or kids who don't have that friend that gets how they play, that lives in their town, or kids in rural communities. And I think that at a moment where there's a lot of reconsideration of the role of tech in kids' lives, and there should be, coming out of the social media era, there absolutely should be, that message of balance, of finding the things that tech does well and allowing it to support kids and families in those ways, while also taking actions and making moves that keep tech from being harmful. I think that does resonate with people. It's not as easy or as flashy as saying, ban all tech, get it out of childhood. But, I think for the pragmatists in the room, tech is here. Kids are using it. That's what our research shows over and over again. And I think part of what we try to do is figure out how to have folks navigate that real world.
Yeah.
I'd also just, I'm thinking about our research, and we have this percentage of, I believe it's, correct me if I'm wrong here, 40% of kids who are using AI have never had a conversation with a trusted adult, whether it's a parent or an educator. And when you see this movie, you're seeing these parents see their kid, Bonnie needs friends and they're trying to make her happy. They're not real, they're trying to have a conversation, but there's not a conversation being had. And I'm thinking about this as a parent, and I'm like, I would be doing the same thing. And you're right, sometimes you forget it's sometimes just a conversation to have. And I think that was something that was really resonant to me as I was watching this.
And the banning issue and all that balance back, that as now that my kids are older, and I've heard this said so many times, it's not, when you take away their phone, you're not just taking away the device in their hand or their tablet. It's taking away those connections, their social life, their connect. And for better or worse, that is where all those connections are happening. And so you have to really consider the implications of that.
And though, I think the main lesson, or one of the main lessons that I take from the social media era, is that we've given tech companies broad latitude to build products that are put in front of kids and families in schools. And the tech companies have told parents, you keep your kids safe on our platform, or they told schools, you figure it out, right? And a couple months ago, we had a summit in Europe, and the president of the European Commission said, we don't sell cars to families and tell them, hey, build your own seatbelts. And we don't give you a car and say, hey, design your own crash safety system for your kid. Right. And we don't blame the parents when there's an accident and say, well, you should have done a better job protecting your kid. I guess it's also really important for parents to hear that while we are in this world that is saturated with tech, that is saturated with media, there's a responsibility that lives with the developers, with the companies that are building the technology as well. And if it feels hard, and if it feels oppressive, or if it feels not great to be sitting in the chair figuring out how you're gonna have that conversation with your kid, it's because the odds are stacked against you. You are literally being asked to build that seatbelt, and that shouldn't be your responsibility. And we have other folks at Common Sense Media that are working to address the policy landscape and address the regulatory landscape. And at the Institute, we think a lot about the design of products and how to test and build for safer product designs. But all of that work needs to happen. And I think parents need to know that somebody, us and many others, are trying to do that work, because the responsibility shouldn't fall on parents ultimately.
And to that point, Robbie, I think about even sometimes there's tools that have kid mode or safe mode. And as a parent, you want to just trust that. That's they've put some thought into this. And the reality is we still need to be alongside our kids looking through these resources to ensure that it is safe.
And having those conversations.
Right.
And, if parents don't know where to start with those conversations, we offer samples to have on every review that we post. There's some about Toy Story 5. You can look it up. We also have great parents' ultimate guides to all of these tech things, and our risk assessments and research and so many things. So, please come to Common Sense and sign up for all of these things, and we'd love to have you. And thank you guys so much for joining us for this conversation. I feel like we could talk forever, but now I just kind of want to see the movie again. Thank you.